I used to believe that families break slowly, the way old paint peels from a wall, quietly, gradually, without anyone noticing. But sometimes they crack in one sudden moment, with a sound so sharp it stays in your bones for years. For me, that moment came the night my sister's son shoved my graduation cake off a table and told me to eat it off the ground. The backyard looked almost magical that evening, string lights gently swaying, barbecue smoke drifting under a warm Idaho sky, yet I felt like a stranger wandering through a photograph that had been taken without me in it. People laughed, glasses clinked, stories floated through the air. But beneath all of it was a thin, stretched thread of tension only I could feel, like a violin string pulled too tight. My mother glided between guests with her perfect hostess smile, the kind she saved for company, never for me. My sister Amanda sat in the center of attention, her floral dress catching the lantern light, her son Liam glowing beside her like a small prince. Someone called out, asking her about their Florida trip, and Amanda laughed with the unearned confidence of someone who had always been chosen first. Mom chimed in proudly, saying she insisted they stay an extra week. They were worth it, she said. They deserved it. I stood near the folding table, holding a paper plate, trying to look pleasant, trying to ignore the fact that nobody had asked me about Seattle, my job, or my degree. On the far corner of the table sat my graduation cake, white frosting, neat blue lettering. Congrats, Daisy. It had been bumped out of the way, squeezed between disposable plates and half-empty soda cans. Every time someone brushed past, it shifted slightly, as if it didn't matter whether it remained standing or not. I stared at it longer than I meant to. The cake looked familiar. Beautiful, but ignored. Present, but invisible. Just like I'd felt all my life. A soft breeze rolled through the yard, and the fairy lights above me trembled. I told myself maybe this year would be different. Maybe they'd surprise me. Maybe they'd see me. Then Liam ran toward me with that glint in his eyes, the kind children learn from adults who never tell them no. Aunt Daisy, he shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. Mom says you only got your degree to brag. The laughter that followed wasn't just cruel, it was cold. A kind of cold that creeps under your skin and freezes something inside you. My mother didn't correct him. Amanda hid her smile behind a glass of wine, pretending she didn't enjoy every second of it. I swallowed the sting in my throat. I thought about every time they'd told me to be the bigger person. The patient one. The strong one. The one who didn't need praise, didn't need help, didn't need anything. The one who knew her place. Then Liam shoved the cake with one smug little hand. I saw the plate tilting, falling, spinning. I heard the crack of porcelain breaking against the patio. Frosting splattered across my shoes, candles rolling under chairs. Gasps and then laughter. Louder than before. My fingers tightened around the knife I had been using to slice the cake. No one told him to apologize. Not my father, who barely looked up from his phone. Not my mother, who simply waved a hand and said, "Oh, come on, Daisy. Don't be so sensitive." Something inside me snapped so quietly I almost missed it. But I felt it. A thread breaking. I set the knife down carefully, untied the apron around my waist, and walked toward the deck steps. Every footstep sounded too loud, like someone hitting empty wood with a hammer. Their laughter chased me into the dark yard, echoing off the fence, following me all the way to my car. For the first time in my life, I didn't cry. Not when the frosting smeared across my shoe. Not when I passed my childhood home's back door, without looking back. Not even when I sat behind the wheel, the cold steering wheel pressed against my palms. I drove for hours through the empty Idaho night. The headlights stretched across the road like long, lonely ribbons. My heart felt hollow, like it was echoing inside itself. Their laughter kept replaying, sharp as broken glass. And woven through it was my mother's voice. Don't be so sensitive. By the time I reached my small Seattle apartment, it was past midnight. Rain streaked the windows, washing the city in silver. I dropped my keys on the counter, sank onto the couch, and let the silence sit around me. A tired kind of silence. A silence that didn't comfort, but didn't hurt either. My phone buzzed. For one foolish second, I thought it might be an apology. Something simple. Something human. But when I opened the message, the words cut cleaner than any knife ever could. We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever. A heart reacted to the message. Amanda's. I stared at the screen, then set the phone down. No trembling. No tears. Just a deep, startling quiet in my chest, like my emotions had run out of places to go. After a long moment, I opened my laptop. The blue glow lit up the room, cold but steady, steadier than I'd felt in years. On the screen was my old budget file. 2 monthly payments stared back at me. My parents' mortgage, $400. Amanda's SUV, $640. Both loans co-signed by me. Both payments silently draining my account for 3 long years. I remembered signing the papers because my mother had said, "You're the responsible one, honey. We just need your help." Back then it felt like love. Now, looking at the numbers, it looked like a leash. I typed the message slowly, deliberately, each word falling into place with the weight of a stone. I'm removing my name from every loan tomorrow. No anger. No explanation. No apology. I hit send. The phone chimed once, then fell quiet again. Outside, the rain softened until it became a hush, like the world was finally listening. For the first time, silence didn't feel like surrender. It felt like a beginning. Morning arrived gray and cold, the kind of Seattle dawn that bleaches the edges of everything and forces clarity. Steam rose from my coffee cup as I sat by the window, tracing the skyline with tired eyes. The rain had stopped, leaving streets slick and reflective, each puddle catching the faint glint of a reluctant sun. For the first time, I noticed freedom in the silence, the absence of calls, laughter, demands. It was mine, utterly mine. My phone buzzed insistently, dozens of missed notifications stacked like an angry wall. Mom. Amanda, unknown numbers from Boise. I let them pile, unopened. Their voices, once my comfort, now my chains, had no place here. The messages were furious, pleading, guilt-laden. "You've gone too far. Do you know what you're doing to us?" They wrote, but none said, "I'm sorry." None acknowledged the years I had silently carried their burdens, the laughter at my expense, the invisible weight of being the responsible one. I dressed quietly, pulled on a gray sweater, and tied my hair back. The world outside was busy, unaware, a river flowing around me while my own current shifted. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard, and typed the first words of action I had taken in years. Green First Bank, downtown Seattle branch. Mr. Diaz, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and wire-rimmed glasses, greeted me in a quiet consultation office, pale blue walls, a single fern in the corner. "Miss Wilson," he said, extending a hand. "I reviewed your documents. I think I understand." I explained, steadily, every loan I'd co-signed, every dollar I had paid out of quiet obligation, every time I had swallowed my pride. He nodded, sliding papers across the table. "You're not the first person to be taken advantage of under the word family," he said. "If we can prove you hold no ownership, we can release you from liability. You'll also have the option to freeze joint credit access." The next hours were a blur. I handed him everything, lease agreements, emails, even the old text from my mother. "The house is ours. You just help sign." Mr. Diaz read silently, then, after a long pause, nodded. "Everything we need is here. We can start the release process immediately." The pen clicked against the paper, small and deliberate, but each signature I placed felt like a chisel cutting through invisible chains that had bound me for decades. When the final stamp landed, sealing my freedom from responsibility for loans I had been forced to carry, I felt a weight lift from my chest that I didn't realize had been crushing me for years. The office smelled faintly of paper and coffee, calm and professional. For the first time in a long while, I smiled, not at anyone, not for anyone, just me. Outside, the wind bit at my cheeks, carrying the scent of rain and possibility. I stopped at a corner cafe, ordered a cappuccino, and met the barista's smile with a light I hadn't used in years. "Have a good day," she said, handing me the cup. For the first time, I could say it back and mean it. I will. Back in my apartment, the city stretching out below me like a quiet, observing giant, I cooked dinner slowly, methodically, as if reclaiming each moment of normalcy. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was Amanda, furious. You ruined our credit. You're heartless. You'll regret this. I typed one line in response. I just stopped paying for people who laughed when my cake hit the floor. Then I set the phone down. The silence afterward wasn't emptiness. It was liberation. 3 days passed before the pounding started. Sharp, relentless, vibrating through the thin walls. My heart sank, but I stayed calm, boiling pasta on the stove, aware of the certainty curling in my stomach. The video intercom revealed them, Mom and Amanda, faces twisted in fury and desperation. Amanda's mask hung loosely around her neck, eyes wide and frantic. Mom's lips pressed tight, her arms crossed as if bracing herself to lecture a child. Open this door right now, Daisy Mom demanded, voice high and trembling. We need to talk. What did you do with the bank? I did not move. The pounding continued. The hallway camera caught them shifting from foot to foot, peering nervously at neighbors. Amanda shrieked, You ruined everything. You think this is funny? Their anger didn't pierce me. It was familiar, predictable, a replay of a lifetime of control and cruelty masked as family love. I turned on the voice recorder on my phone, whispering just enough for it to catch my words. Seattle Police Department. 2 individuals are outside my apartment, refusing to leave. I'd like to report trespassing. Do you know them? Yes. They're my family, but today they're just people violating my boundary. Mom's voice cracked, desperate. Daisy, you're destroying this family. Blood doesn't disappear just because you say so. Amanda sobbed, trembling. You almost cost me my fiancé, my credit, everything. The pounding stopped as police lights flashed outside. 2 officers, calm and professional, approached the door. I watched, silent but steady. They spoke to Mom first. Ma'am, this is private property. You need to leave. Mom's fury didn't fade. She sputtered, pleading, claiming rights. The officers did not waver. I felt a strange calm as their footsteps faded, replaced by the quiet that had eluded me for so long. I sank to the floor, phone still recording, feeling the tremor in my hands, but it was no longer fear. It was release. Boundaries, I realized, are invisible walls that must be drawn clearly if you wish to survive. The following days were quiet. The angry messages subsided. Facebook posts vanished. The whispers that had once controlled my thoughts and emotions lost their power. I focused on my work at Green Pulse Tech, completing projects, receiving recognition not because I gave too much, but because I finally belonged to myself. Life settled into a rhythm I had never known. Yoga at sunrise, soup, quiet dinners, laughter with friends who saw me, not what I could provide for them. Weeks later, a single message appeared from Amanda. I'm sorry for everything. 6 quiet words, without excuse. I stared, then set the phone down. Forgiveness, I realized, does not always demand reopening doors. Sometimes it means closing them gently, walking away, and taking the air back into your lungs. Standing by the window that evening, watching Lake Union shimmer in the last light of the day, I breathed deeply. The rain had washed the streets clean. The air smelled sharp and alive. I whispered to myself, Welcome home, Daisy. Freedom had arrived not in a dramatic explosion, but in quiet persistence, in a single decision, in the courage to say no. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the sound of power finally speaking for itself. And for the first time in a very long while, I knew I had truly come home to myself.